Welcome to the China Desk. I'm Steve Yates, your host here, and bringing you a brief update on what's been happening in the world of trade, China, and the United States. All of you, no doubt, have noticed that when the Trump administration came into office, there was the opening of some tariffs that came forward that were linked with the export of illicit fentanyl precursors, a topic we have discussed with several guests at the China Desk, and it was a priority for the administration to hit the ground running to push for change on that. Not long after that, there was a broader move to put broad-based tariffs on every country for the most part, and those were on top of the 10 then became 20% tariffs on the fentanyl precondition. Later, when China retaliated with its countermeasures, the Trump administration raised some of these duties way over 100%, the likes of which we had never seen, words the president loves to offer. And so we clearly came in with a crescendo of a different approach that was meant to bring pressure and inducements to open negotiations. But then there was a conspicuous pause. At the China Desk and elsewhere, a lot of people were asking, why hasn't Xi Jinping responded? Why hasn't he called President Trump? Why aren't the Chinese negotiating? And a lot of people were trying to measure which country is going to be able to endure the pain, which leader was going to blink first. But as it turns out, there was enough dislocation inside China, a system we don't have perfect visibility into, to bring its leaders around to seek a stepping off point, a 下台阶 that a lot of people in Chinese would be familiar with. And so we had this summit in Geneva where authoritative representatives of both leaders got together. There was 2 days of conversation. There were a little bit of rumor and innuendo that the talks were cut off short. I think that was probably wishful thinking among saboteurs. The talks went on a long time, and they produced a joint statement where both sides made some commitments, which included a 90-day pause, the lowering of astronomical tariff levels down to just high tariff levels, keeping the baseline tariffs from the first Trump term in place, keeping the tariffs linked to fentanyl in place, but then a smaller slice of the birthday cake on top of it for this period of 90 days. Now, what should anyone reasonably expect in 90 days? Well, number one, I think it's reasonable to expect this is the beginning of the beginning. This is not a time to imagine that was agreed to in Geneva is going to be the pivot point that will change the direction the earth spins when it comes to trade between the United States and China and the rest of the world. But it is the first serious engagement by the government of China to directly negotiate with the Trump administration. And also, important to me and to many of you, the first time they realized they have to take the fentanyl issue seriously. One interesting participant that Secretary Bessent mentioned in this effort was a Ministry of State Security representative that gave a briefing on the fentanyl trade as they knew it from the Chinese perspective. Now, you and I might have a different point of view about what the Chinese were really saying by doing this. Number one, sending the Ministry of State Security shows that this is not just a traditional trade and tariff negotiation. Number two, it was an admission by the Chinese that they know that President Trump is going to keep those tariffs in place unless there's measurable progress to be had. Number three, they know on the Chinese side they couldn't just say, we're going to have talks about talks on fentanyl. You're going to have to put up some operational evidence, and we're going to have to see evidence of the precursor supplies going down. So we've had an interesting beginning. The president talked up the importance of this as he is wont to do and as he has every right to do. He is the one trying to chart the new path forward. He wants those engaged in the talks to see the possibilities that are out there and to continue down the horizon to pursue them. We have the realities, though, of Trump 1.0, where a phase one trade agreement was secured after years of work, only to be dropped like a hot rock during the COVID pandemic. And as Secretary Bessent very interestingly shared with the world, the Chinese interlocutors said that the Biden team chose not to follow up on the phase one trade agreement. And so Chinese leaders decided there was no point in doing the follow through if the U.S. side wasn't pressing them to do so. A telling indictment of what the trade agenda was in the last administration, where many of us were reassured that there was continuity between Trump's first term and Biden's term, and that USTR was keeping a lot of tariffs in place. But the Biden team, apparently, according to the Chinese, we should grant, decided not to press for follow through. So part of this giant reset that we're in the middle of is resetting the U.S. China trade dialogue from its abrupt drop off point of the phase one trade agreement, the experience of the COVID pandemic and all that that meant for economic dislocation and what it meant for levels of trust falling in the United States about the reliability of agreements and dependencies on China. But it's also a reset broader than that. One of the hopeful harvests from this initial agreement to try to negotiate a new landing point in U.S. China economic relations is that hopefully it accelerates the deals that are being negotiated with true responsible stakeholders and very important allies. The United Kingdom came in with an early agreement on core principles. There are negotiations with Japan, Korea, Taiwan, India, others that hopefully will be in the near term horizon to show some progress there. That puts the United States in a better position to negotiate a more reliable follow through from China, but it also makes clear this is not a negotiation about America imposing its will on China or the world. This is a negotiation among the major economies of the world that we want a fair and more balanced distribution of supply chains and economic opportunity in the world system, something the World Trade Organization failed to deliver. And so we have an alternative architecture in the first post-globalism presidency. And these negotiations are taking step by step the United States, our allies, major partners, and indeed, it appears, China in the direction of this new landing point. So, here at the China Desk, we're going to be bringing the best experts to engage in the best conversations to help us think the right way about the moving parts in these negotiations, where we might see things correctly or incorrectly. We'll have guests that won't always agree with our general outlook, but we're always going to be focused on what can help us better understand the realities that we're engaging with China, what can put the United States and our allies in the best possible position to keep peace and pursue prosperity, and to make sure that the right side of the world wins the race for the world's most important technologies and can kind of set the terms that help the world move in a hopefully extended period of exciting technological development, economic breakthroughs, and hopefully durable democracy and peace for those who choose to partake. That's what we're looking at. And that's what we are here for at the China Desk. We're going to aim to bring you more of these kinds of update segments. And so keep an eye out. Please like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends and family to do the same. And if you have an interest in flagging guests and books and interesting articles, we're always interested in new ideas to pursue in the conversations that will bring you the best China policy content out there in the podcast world. So, with that, as always, to our audience, for which we are most grateful, we thank you for listening, watching. Go to YouTube to like, subscribe, and share the videos, and hit your other regular podcast providers to listen to us while you drive, you work, or otherwise want a quick update. Till next time, I'm Steve Yates, your host here at the China Desk.